Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Evolution with Mac and Jen podcast. It's Jen here, and as you can see, I don't have Mac with me today. If you're watching this, you can see he's not sitting next to me. So just me today, and I'm super excited to be here. Before I get started with what I want to talk about today, which what I want to talk about really is, I think I want to talk about the power of gratitude, um, because it's been on my heart. And what's really funny is Mac and I actually, like 2 weeks ago or less than 2 weeks ago, we recorded a podcast together and we did it on the power of gratitude. And it didn't record. So we went on for like almost an hour probably, and it was so good. It was so good. And then when he ended the Zoom, it like didn't do a recording upload thing. And so I was like, "Oh my God, did that not record? Did we not record that?" We did the whole podcast. So basically it was him and I talking for an hour about gratitude, and it didn't record. But it's all right because we just felt like, okay, maybe that was a message that didn't need to be heard or didn't need to be told then, but I'm gonna tell it now from what I like my experience with gratitude because I told him I'm like, I am the kind of the gratitude queen. And gratitude completely changed my life. And so I love talking about gratitude. So I'm like, I'm gonna get on here and I'm gonna talk about gratitude. So, I have no makeup on today, 0. We went for we went up to Red Lodge, we took a drive up to Red Lodge, Montana this morning, which is about an hour from where we currently are. And Mac has like trucks and trailers and all these things, and so he loaded up a bunch of tires for a friend there, and this guy was like paying Mac some money to like load these tires and take them to the dump basically. And so Mac did that. Well, I got to walk around Red Lodge, downtown Red Lodge, and look in the little shops and enjoy the sunshine. But we got up so early and went and did that, and then it got hot, and I never put on makeup, and then I got sweaty, and I even bought a hat today, and I have some hat hair. So, but I was like, it's on my heart now, so we're gonna do a podcast and see how it goes. I'm really loving my new hat that I got. I got a Trump hat, and I've been wanting a Trump hat for like quite some time. And there was the cutest little store, like, set up right in downtown Red Lodge, a Trump headquarters, and so there was 2 cute older men sitting out front in chairs, drinking coffee out of their Trump mugs, and so I went in and took a little round, and he kinda, talked me into getting the camo hat, which I actually really love it, so I'm super excited, but it says, "No more bullshit" on the front, and I feel like so I bought this, and then we went out to breakfast, and I wore the hat, and I swear I felt like everybody was staring at me. They probably weren't, but I just felt that way because Red Lodge is more of a Democratic town, which is kinda crazy because 'cause they're in Montana, and you'd think Montana would be more like Republicans. I don't know, but the guys were telling me that a bunch of people from California are moving up there, and so the Trump store is needed in the town, and I was like, "Okay." But, so I don't really share, like, much about my political views or politics or anything, but I definitely, like, if I have to choose between the 2, like, I would choose and go with Donald Trump. I'm gonna vote for him because there's many reasons actually, but simply because my mom asked me this the other day. She's like, "So what do you like, what do you lean?" I'm like, "Well, I'm probably gonna vote for Donald Trump." I'm like, "I'm Donald Trump." And she's like, "Why?" And I didn't wanna say too much because her Democrat friend was sitting there, and I didn't wanna, like, get into it, but I was just like, my short answer is that I feel a more sense of certainty and safety with him being the leader. His certainty gives me certainty, and that makes me feel safe, like, bottom line. And so, that's, like, one of the reasons why I go and lean that way. I don't just lean like I am. Um but I just appreciate that. Like I like strong men who are leaders, and I feel like Donald Trump is probably in my opinion, and you can totally disagree, and I did not wanna talk about Donald Trump on my podcast about gratitude, but, I just feel safe with him, and so that's my lean. So I got my hat, you may see me wear it, I don't know, because 'cause I'm a little, like, I don't know if I wanna flash around, but that's I'm just really excited. I am really excited about it, and I'm really grateful for my hat, and I'm really grateful that before I went on my walk, Mac gave me a bunch of cash and was like, "Spend it on whatever you want," and I was like, "Okay, thank you." Power of gratitude, when you're grateful, you get more, and so I'm always super grateful, and of course, I'm just always super grateful, but, I did wanna talk about the power of gratitude and how it changed my life because I think it's so important, especially when it comes to manifesting and truly getting what you want. Because there's I think there's I think we all have two lives. There's like the life we live, and then there's the life we live after we wake up. And the life we live after we wake up is when we realize that we only live once. And that in that life, we decide to be a little bit more intentional and conscious with what we're creating because we realize we are the creators and we can actually design life how we want it to look. So there's like the life you live first, and then there's like the wake up, and then there's the life you live after you wake up when you realize there's only one life, if that makes sense. And so that my wake up happened about 9 years ago in 2015, and I've told the story many times. Is That was the day where I basically threw my hands up in the air and I opened myself up to receiving help. Because when before that moment, I was very closed off and was trying to do everything on my own. Um Without even realizing, I would receive help, but I wasn't open to real help and change, and there's a moment in time, I think, in everybody's lives where we get to a point where we realize, like, there has to be more to life than this, and that's when the pain gets big enough where we basically throw our hands up, throw our hands out and say, "I don't know, but I'm ready to learn." And that moment for me was in 2015. That was the moment that I woke up and was like, "I can no longer go on like this." And so um, that moment, was when I basically hired my first mentor. He was $500, like, to get started, and then there was a monthly fee of, like, 140-ish dollars, I think, or something, but and he completely changed my life in so many ways. One of the ways being is I started going he had weekly meetings just like we do in our membership, weekly meetings where I was surrounding myself with people who had what I wanted. And I learned very quickly that for me to change my life, number one, you want to surround yourself with people who have what you want, but then you also want to start doing what they do, like modeling their behavior. And so at the time, really, I just wanted to be happy. I just wanted to be happy. But these people were, building business, going after money, um, working on relationships, fixing their mindsets, all these things. I'm like, I just want to be happy. Like, I don't care what I need to do. I just want to be happy. So show me the path, show me the way. And what I noticed was most of everybody in this circle focused on intentional gratitude and doing gratitude practices. um, so that's what I started doing. Gratitude was one of the very first things I started doing, when I woke up. And it looked like me in every single morning pulling out my gratitude journal and writing down 10 things I was grateful for and 3 people I just wanted to send love to. And I would write it in my journal every single morning, even if I didn't really want to, I would just do it, trusting that there was going to be some sort of benefit to it. And oftentimes in the beginning, it felt silly because I would just be like, I'm grateful for my pen. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. But what's interesting is that when I started this, I was still drinking all the time. So I'd wake up in the morning, oftentimes very hungover and not feeling good, but I would still pick up my gratitude journal. Before I would do the gratitude journal, I would wake up in the morning and just focus on how much I hated my life, how angry I was at myself, how much I regretted everything that I was doing, how awful of a mother I felt, how awful of a wife I felt. Like, before my gratitude journal, I'd wake up in the mornings hungover with all these negative thoughts in my head. And I would get up, do my day, still with the negative thoughts in my head, and then drink again at night. And like the pattern would just keep going on and on and on. And so when I started doing the gratitude, even though I still felt like shit and still was angry at myself, what happened was after so many days, weeks, and months of this, I actually started to train my brain to wake up and start and look for the good. So I'd get up and rather than immediately started focusing on all the wrong in my life, I started focusing on the good in my life. And even though I wasn't super happy in my life started to change when I started doing this because my focus started to change every single day. And I started focusing more on the good. And so it's like, because I was focusing more on the good, I actually started feeling better on the inside. And so nothing in my outer world was changing. My husband was still the same. We were even still drinking until I quit. Um, Same house, same job, same friends, same everything. Everything was the same, but the only thing that started to shift was me and what I was focusing on. And shifting my focus started to change the way that I felt. And all of a sudden, life didn't actually seem as bad as it once did. And continuing on with this practice of gratitude and I started adding some other things too. Like, if you follow me, you've probably seen I put sticky notes all over my mirrors, like, you are a good mother, you know, you deserve the best. um Sobriety is the best decision for you. These are my originals from my original stickies that I'm trying to remember, but I had all these stickies on my mirrors too, and really I was very intentional about shifting my focus. So I was doing my gratitude every morning. I had my sticky notes on my mirror, and I was even sometimes watching like videos on YouTube. Um, but anything like that to just really change my focus. But it's just the gratitude in itself alone completely changed everything for me. It because that's what really started to shift it. And everybody, like, you say it's so silly because I have so many people come to me and they're just not happy. And sometimes one of the first things I do is suggest start gratitude, daily gratitude every morning, even if you don't want to, even if it feels silly, even if you feel like you have nothing to be grateful for, just do it. Find 10 things. I'm grateful for my bed. I'm grateful for the brush that brushes my hair. I'm grateful for my phone. I'm grateful for the paper to be writing this on. Like, anything, just start doing it and watch your life start to change simply by focusing on gratitude. It's like, in life, there is shit and there is good. And I am happy and joyful, and I feel really good all the time these days. All the time. Why? Because I am so good at directing my focus to where I want it to go, to how I want to feel. Um, but it's like when when you but here we go. My life is not perfect. There's things in my life where if I were to focus on them, they would get me really down. I can get depressed like that, like that. Like I can crawl into bed, curl up into a ball, and focus on everything that sucks about my life. And there are things that suck about my life. There are things that I want to change. Not a lot, but like, I mean, I can focus on the losses in my life. I could focus on rejection. I can focus on you know, the fact that maybe I'm not moving fast enough. Whatever I want, if I can focus on how other people are better than me, right? Like there's a lot that I can focus on to put me into a negative state. Easy, easy. And I'm actually really good at it because I've had years of practice focusing on the shit. But when we start to shift our focus, so there's always shit you can focus on, but there's always good you can focus on. And when you start directing your focus to the good, you see more of it. And when you see more of it, you get more of it. And so this is truly the power of gratitude and the power of like where focus goes, energy flows, and manifesting, like what you think about the most is what you get. So when you put your focus towards gratitude, you get more to be grateful for because you open your eyes and you actually see it, right? Even when I'm with Mac, I could focus on negative things, or I can choose to focus on positive things. I can put my focus, I can judge the fuck out of him, or I can choose to love and appreciate him. Like where you put your focus, it's all a choice. And the world, the world conditions us to focus on the negative. The world puts us into fear. The world um makes us feel less than with, different marketing and ads and Instagram and the world is really good at making us feel like shit if we choose to focus on that. That's why most people feel so awful most of the time is because their mind is constantly focused on what's missing, what's wrong, what do I don't have, um, what's not right about my life, that's where most people go if you don't choose to control where your thoughts go. And so my wake up, was like, I need help. What do I do? You need to start controlling your thoughts. You need to start directing your thoughts towards what you want them to go. So you will feel a certain way, and so you will act different and show up in life different, and that's exactly what happened to me because after 2 years of gratitude and, doing some other things, but a lot of gratitude, after 2 years of it, that's when I chose to get sober. I just chose to. I was like, "You know what? Now I see things differently. I feel better. I don't actually need this. And this is actually really preventing me from where I'm going." And so it made it so much easier for me to let the alcohol go because I didn't need it anymore to drown out the pain that I felt because of, how I felt inside. I was starting to feel better. I didn't need it anymore. And so just that alone completely, the gratitude completely changed my life. And, you know, they say it's between the ages. It's between the ages of 4 and 7 when we start to feel judgment from other people and we start to change who we are and dim our lights and try to be who we think they want us to be in order to be accepted and loved, right? So it's between the ages of 4 and 7 where we start shifting. If you look at a 2 or a 3-year-old, like they're typically happy, free, flowy. They will dance naked in maybe not naked, but dance in a diaper in the middle of a restaurant full of people and not even care because they're not at the point where they don't feel the judgment yet. They're just free, right? But when they get 4, 5, 6, they stop doing that. Why? Because they start caring what everybody thinks. Just like we all do. We start caring what everybody thinks and we start judging ourselves, and then we just constantly berate and criticize ourselves. And this is why most of the world and the people in it, are we're kind of fucked up a little bit, It's like because we don't we you know we we're not taught this particular stuff. Like, it's not hammered in. Like, you may have a mom that says, "Oh, no, be grateful, pray and show gratitude and be thankful." But if we don't actually take the time to train our brains the how we want them to be, we will end up being what the world has given us, which is most people. And which was me, which is why I was drinking all the time and hating myself because I was focused on the shit. What was wrong with me? What I didn't love, what I was missing, what I was lacking. I didn't know what I didn't know. When I started to shift my focus, everything started to change. And so I've noticed, I'm going to take a quick drink. I've noticed that you guys know I have Cameron, who's 11. I've noticed that he also has, kind of fallen into world conditioning and world programming where, he also puts a lot of focus on what he doesn't love about himself, what's missing, what's wrong, what's lacking, he's not good enough. He doesn't see his place in the world. Like he puts his focus on all of that. And I started to notice very quickly by the way he was showing up in the world, where's his focus going? And because of that, being his mother, I'm like, okay, like, we're going to start doing gratitude. And so he's actually been around gratitude for a long time. When I first started doing it in 2015, he was doing it with me. And I'd be like, "Hey, what are you grateful for?" And he was like 2. And his gratitude was like, and I'd have to help him a little bit, but dinosaurs, Paw Patrol, mommy, daddy, Mimi, um, Aunt Christina, like he would, name off Annie the dog, right? And it was super cute, but as he got a little older, he kind of like fizzled out of my gratitude practices with me. And now he kind of sometimes has like an attitude about it because he's like 11-year-old boy. And, you know, mom is not that cool. And, when our moms tell us like, or, say we need to do certain things, we kind of don't want to do them because we think we know better, right? So that's kind of the attitude I've gotten from him along, with gratitude, probably for the last at least 4 years since him and his dad got divorced, because that's when I really started to see like, oh, we need to be doing gratitude because this is not good. And so about 4 years ago, I he was like acting out and I was like, "All right, we need to do some gratitude clearly because your brain is over here." He's like, "No, no, I don't want to do gratitude." I'm like, "Yes, we're going to do gratitude. Like, but we're going to do it a little bit different this time." And he's like, "No, no." I'm like, "Yes." So he went under the covers in the bed and he puts the covers over his head. And I'm like, okay, tell me 5 things you're grateful for. And he yells out from under the covers 5 things he was grateful for. And I was like, okay, awesome, great. I'm like, okay, now name 5 people you just want to send love to. And so he, underneath the covers, with the covers over his head, he shouts out 5 people to send love to. And then after that, he thought we were done. And I was like, so he comes out from under the covers and I was like, okay. And he's like, I'm like, we're not done. One more thing. He's like, what? And I'm like, name 5 things you love about yourself. And he looked at me like a deer in the headlights and said, that's hard. And when he said that, it like totally broke my heart because at the time, so he was 7 or 8 year old, couldn't name 5 things that he loved about himself. And this is when I really realized, okay, we really need to start working on training our brain and our mindset. And, even at his age, because if we don't, he's going to end up like the rest of us, or like me, who was, drinking away the pain I felt inside, or, whatever however he chooses to numb, right? And he's still, he plays video games a lot and does all that stuff, but really realizing that, what our focus determines how we feel. And if we don't take control of our focus will, control us. And so I helped him name 5 things he loved about himself. And so we did it, but it's like, it's not always easy, trying to really tell him like how important this is, because this is literally like how you feel in life is 100% determined by what you focus on. And if you are focusing on the good, the wrong, and the bad, and what's missing, what you don't love about yourself, you're going to feel a certain way, which is going to be reflected in how you show up, which is going to reflect in your results and your confidence. And it's going to be like a circle. So if we don't start changing where our focus is going, life is going to be a lot harder, basically. So the key is we got to work on, what are we focusing on? We're focusing on gratitude, remembering, this is what Tony Robbins said, like, where focus goes, energy flows. So we focus on gratitude because, like I said, there's always going to be shit happening. Things may not always be perfect. 2 years ago, my cousin was, she died, and it was an awful, awful, awful tragedy. My life is not perfect. But, but I've really learned to train myself to look for the good. There's always going to be shit in your life happening, things that don't look perfect, things you may not be super excited about. But one of the keys is just remembering that, asking yourself this question is, how is this working for me? Rather than, why is this happening to me? That question alone, shifting that, will change your life, because most of us will sit and say, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Well, if you ask a shitty question, you're going to get a shitty answer. Why is this happening to you? Well, Jen, this is happening to you because you are a piece of shit. You do this, you do this, you do this. And again, that gives you shitty answers, which changes how you feel. But if you can say, how is this happening for me? Where's the lesson in this? Right? Where's the good in this? Those better questions will get you better answers and help you to feel better. So it's like learning the tools and strategies to get through the shit, to grow through the shit, while also, remembering that to put your focus on the good, because there may be a lot of shit, but there's also a lot of good. And when you start shifting your focus, it changes everything. And that really is the key, and the power of gratitude is when you actually start to see it, you see more of it, and your eyes open up to so much, and you start showing up differently simply because you have changed what you're focusing on. Your outside circumstances may not change, they may not be changing. When I started shifting, everything looked the same. My husband was the same person, my house was the same, my job was the same, my everything was the same. The only thing that started to shift was me and what I was focusing on. When that started to shift, I started to feel different inside. I started sh seeing things differently, showing up a little bit differently, happier almost, and my entire world started to change simply by changing my focus to gratitude. When I'm helping people in relationships, sometimes it's as simple as changing the way you see your partner changes how you feel about them. And so, sometimes if you are so upset and angry and all these things, you know, take a moment and reflect on what you're focused on, because that is determining how you're feeling and how you're showing up. And when you show up in a certain energy, you get that back, right? But if you start by changing your focus and seeing your partner differently, then you feel different about them, which means you show up a little different, maybe a little kinder. You smile a little more. And what's funny is when you start shifting, they start shifting. And so much of the change that happens in our life, it truly doesn't happen on the outside until at first it happens on the inside. And it starts truly with shifting that focus and what you're seeing and how you're seeing things. Even when it comes to, looking at the past, you cannot change the past. You cannot change what happened in the past. You cannot change the trauma you went through. You cannot change any of it. But what you can change is how you see it and how you view it. And oftentimes healing comes from a perspective shift. They say, it takes years to heal, years to heal. I believe it only takes a moment to heal, because in that moment, when your perspective changes, you feel the shift, things get lighter. It may take years to get up to that moment, but change happens in a moment. When your focus changes, change happens. You can go from depressed to grateful in an instant, simply by changing your focus. People think it takes this years to not be depressed anymore, to get over the depression. And you may have moments where you feel depressed, but the moment you change your focus, things change, because you cannot be grateful and depressed at the same time. You cannot be grateful and angry at the same time, and you cannot be grateful and fearful at the same time. So when you're laying in bed focusing on everything that makes you feel depressed, of course you're going to feel depressed. But if you start to shift your focus, even just the little things onto that gratitude, and you start seeing things different, you can, go from depressed to grateful in a second. You may, and the more you do it, the better you get at it, which is why for me, 9 years of doing gratitude practices, often a lot, gratitude journals, gratitude visualizations, gratitude meditations, you know, shifting my own energy, working with my own coaches. Like I am, like I said in the beginning of this podcast, a pro at shifting my focus and finding the good. Which is why my life looks the way that it does, which is why I don't really feel much frustration. I don't get angry. I don't feel a lot of fear because I am so embodied into gratitude that I'm just here. I'm just like I just am. And so, but like I said, I'm really good though. I know how to get depressed. I know how to get anxious. Just focus on things that make you feel anxious. There you go. Now you're anxious, right? But and even watching, how you identify. If you're like, well, I'm depressed. Well, you feel depressed, right? So I'm very kind of black and white in some things, but it's like, where your focus goes is where your energy flows. That's how you feel, and you get better at it. So if you are really down in the dumps and you're like, Jen, I have nothing to be, grateful for, there's got to be something. You just start doing it every morning. Pull out a book and just write 10 things you're grateful for, and just start doing it and do it for a month. Commit to a month of every morning, even if you don't want to do it, just do it. And come back to me in 30 days and tell me how you feel. Things will start to change for you. And it seems so silly. Most of the times we think that huge, massive shifts come with huge, massive, checklists and things to do, but sometimes it can be this simple, and it can be this easy. And you just have to do it. You just have to choose to do it and just start doing it. And your life will change. And I believe I am done speaking about the power of gratitude, but I hope that you got something from that. And I hope that you actually understand, like, truly the importance and truly the power of it. Because, like I said, it can seem so silly. Well, we'll just focus on gratitude. Ha ha ha. It can seem so silly, but it works. It works. And that consistency and doing it and just deciding, you know what, I don't want to feel this way any longer. I want to be happy. What do I need to do? And just start doing it. So this is quote unquote the work we talk about, so this is part of the work, is training your brain to look for the good. So you feel good, and then life changes. So that's all I got for you today. Thank you for listening and being here. I appreciate all of you, all of our amazing viewers who love us and subscribe and like. And maybe if I could ask if you, for anything, is if you are friends with me on Facebook, will you please go to my page and just write something, like maybe a takeaway or something nice about the podcast, or if you're in the membership, say something, because I'd really trying to, get the word out, um, about the work that we do and helping people. And so the more that, you guys share your experiences and testimonials and takeaways and things, the more other people will see it and then, come on board too. So appreciate y'all, and see you next week. Bye.